After my brother declared I had no right to family wealth, a forgotten will turned the tables, exposing the truth about our family's finances. What I discovered would destroy everything he believed about himself. If you are watching this, kindly subscribe and let me know where you are watching from. And I hope that you're safe, wherever you are. My name is Emma, and I grew up believing love had to be earned. While my younger brother Marcus got everything handed to him on a silver platter, I scrubbed floors to pay for my own school supplies. Our parents, Richard and Margaret Walsh, owned the most successful real estate empire in our small town. The Walsh name meant something. It meant power, respect and money that flowed like water, but not for me. Marcus walked through our mansion like a prince. Designer clothes hung in his walk-in closet. A brand new BMW sat in the driveway for his 16th birthday. College tuition paid in full before he even applied. Me, I wore hand-me-downs from our housekeeper's daughter. I worked weekends at the local diner, saving every penny for community college. When I asked Dad for help with textbooks, he'd frown and say, "Money doesn't grow on trees, Emma. You need to learn responsibility." The irony burned like acid in my throat. Marcus never worked a day in his life, yet somehow I was the one who needed to learn responsibility. He threw lavish parties while I cleaned up the mess. He crashed his BMW twice, and Dad bought him a newer model each time. "Boys will be boys," Mom would say, stroking Marcus's hair as he smirked at me over breakfast. Have you ever been betrayed by family? The people who were supposed to love you unconditionally, but made you feel like a stranger in your own home. I thought things might change when I graduated valedictorian from community college, when I started my own small marketing business, when I got engaged to my college sweetheart, James. I thought maybe they'd finally see my worth. I was so naive. The first crack in our family foundation appeared on my 25th birthday. I'd organized a small dinner at our family home, hoping to share my engagement news. Marcus showed up late, stumbling drunk through the front door. Well, he slurred, pointing at my engagement ring. "Look who thinks she deserves the fairy tale ending." Dad didn't scold him. Mom didn't apologize for his behavior. They just exchanged a look I couldn't decipher. "Marcus," Dad said carefully, "maybe we should talk privately." "No." Marcus's voice turned ice cold. His drunken stumbling stopped. His eyes sharpened. "I think it's time Emma knew the truth." The dining room fell silent. Even the grandfather clock seemed to stop ticking. Mom's face went pale. Dad's jaw clenched. "What truth?" I whispered. Marcus smiled. But it wasn't friendly. It was predatory, calculated. "The truth about why you've never really been family." Marcus straightened up, his drunken act disappearing completely. This had been planned, rehearsed. "Emma," he said, his voice dripping with false sympathy, "didn't you ever wonder why you look nothing like the rest of us? Why Mom and Dad treat you differently?" My heart pounded. "What are you talking about?" "Show her," Marcus commanded our parents. Dad's hands trembled as he reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a yellowed document, legal papers. "Emma," Mom's voice cracked, "we never meant for you to find out this way." The papers landed on the dining table with a soft thud that echoed like thunder. My hands shook as I picked them up. The words blurred together, but certain phrases jumped out. Informal adoption, no legal guardianship, temporary care arrangement. "You're not our biological daughter," Dad said quietly. "Your mother was Margaret's sister Sarah. She died when you were 3. We took you in out of obligation, not love." The room spun. The walls seemed to close in. "That's why," Marcus continued, circling me like a shark, "you have no claim to the family business, no claim to the family money. You're not a Walsh. You never were." James reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Nothing felt real. "The family lawyer, Mr. Henderson, has already prepared the documentation," Dad added, avoiding my eyes. "The business will pass entirely to Marcus. The house, the investments, everything. You'll need to find your own way. After everything I've done for this family," my voice came out as a whisper, "after working twice as hard, after never asking for anything. You were never supposed to stay this long," Mom said, tears streaming down her face. We thought you'd leave after high school, start your own life." Marcus pulled out his phone and showed me a screen. Bank statements, investment accounts, properties, millions of dollars. "This is what real family gets," he said. "This is what being a Walsh means. And you, Emma, will never be a Walsh." My legs gave out. I sank into a chair, the engagement ring suddenly feeling heavy on my finger. The lawyer wants to see you tomorrow, Dad said, to finalize the paperwork, to make this official. But as I looked at their faces, Dad's guilt, Mom's tears, Marcus's triumph, something felt wrong. Mr. Henderson had been our family lawyer for 30 years. He'd watched me grow up. He'd praised my achievements. Why would he go along with this? The next morning, James was gone. I woke to an empty apartment and a note on the kitchen counter. Emma, I can't do this. I thought I was marrying into the Walsh family. I can't build a future with someone who has nothing. I'm sorry. My engagement ring sat beside the note, catching the morning sunlight like a cruel joke. I stared at the ring for 20 minutes, numb. Everything I'd built, everyone I'd trusted, crumbling like a house of cards. My phone buzzed. Marcus, hope you're ready for your lawyer meeting, sis. Oh wait, I can't call you that anymore, can I? At Henderson and Associates. I sat across from Mr. Henderson's mahogany desk, the same desk where I'd signed my business loan papers 2 years earlier. He'd been so proud then, calling me the smartest Walsh child he'd ever met. Now he wouldn't meet my eyes. Emma, he began, shuffling papers nervously. Your parents have asked me to formalize your situation. My situation. Your lack of inheritance rights. Since you're not legally adopted, you have no claim to the Walsh estate. I leaned forward. Mr. Henderson, you've known me since I was a child. You know how hard I've worked. You know what this family means to me. He finally looked up. His eyes were red, like he'd been crying. Emma, he said quietly. Sometimes the law doesn't align with what feels right, but the law is the law. He slid a document across the desk. This relinquishes any future claims you might have to Walsh family assets. My hands trembled as I read. Every dollar, every property, every investment, all going to Marcus. I was being erased from my own family's history. What if I don't sign, Mr. Henderson's voice dropped to a whisper. Then they'll make your life very difficult. Marcus has influence. He could destroy your business. He could make sure you never work in this town again. The threat hung in the air like smoke. I signed the papers. Walking out of that office, I felt like a ghost. Cars drove past without seeing me. People walked by without noticing. I'd become invisible. My phone rang. Mom, Emma, honey, we've packed your things. They're on the porch. We think it's best if you don't come around anymore. It's too painful for everyone. Mom, please. Goodbye, Emma. The line went dead. I drove to the mansion I'd called home for 22 years. My belongings sat in cardboard boxes on the front porch like garage sale leftovers. 22 years of life reduced to 3 boxes of clothes and books. Marcus's BMW sat in the driveway. Through the living room window, I could see him and James laughing together, drinks in their hands. James looked up and saw me. He didn't wave. As I loaded my boxes into my beat-up Honda, Mrs. Garcia, our old housekeeper, appeared beside me. Mija, she whispered, looking around nervously. This is wrong, all wrong. It's okay, Mrs. Garcia. I'll be fine. No. She pressed something into my hand, a small brass key. Your room. There's something they don't know about, something hidden. She disappeared back into the house before I could ask questions. That night, in my tiny studio apartment above the diner where I used to work, I stared at the key. What could be hidden in my childhood bedroom? What didn't they know about? But how could I get back into the house? How could I search my old room without being caught? 3 days later, opportunity knocked in the form of Marcus's social media. He'd posted photos from a weekend ski trip to Aspen with James and several friends. The mansion would be empty. Miss Garcia had left the kitchen door unlocked. I crept through the house I'd once called home, every shadow familiar yet foreign. Family photos lined the hallway, but I noticed something chilling. In every single picture from the last 5 years, I'd been cropped out or positioned at the edge, like an afterthought. My old bedroom felt like a museum exhibit. The bed was made with military precision. My desk cleared completely, but the brass key Mrs. Garcia gave me fit perfectly into the bottom drawer of my antique nightstand. The drawer stuck at first, warped with age. When it finally gave way, I found a manila envelope wedged against the back panel. My name was written across the front in elegant handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside were documents that made my blood freeze. A birth certificate listing Margaret Walsh as my mother, not my aunt. A marriage certificate showing Sarah Walsh had never existed. Most shocking of all, A will dated 23 years ago, just after my birth. Last will and testament of Margaret Sarah Walsh. The name hit me like lightning. Margaret Sarah Walsh. My mother had used both names, Margaret for everyday life, Sarah as her middle name on legal documents. I was her biological daughter. She was my mother, not my aunt. The will was clear. To my daughter Emma Walsh, I leave the entirety of my personal estate, including all properties acquired before my marriage to Richard Walsh, totaling approximately $4.2 million. This inheritance is separate from any marital assets and belongs solely to Emma upon her 21st birthday. My hands shook as I read further. Should anything happen to me, this will supersede any subsequent documents that may attempt to disinherit Emma. She is my heir, my legacy, and my love. There was more. Bank account numbers, property deeds, investment portfolios, all in my mother's maiden name, Walsh, which she'd kept even after marriage. But the most devastating document was at the bottom, a letter addressed to me. My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, then something has gone terribly wrong. Your father has never accepted that my money built this family's empire. He married me for my inheritance from my grandmother, the original Walsh fortune. Marcus is not his first child. He had a son from a previous relationship who died in infancy. He's desperate for a male heir to carry on what he believes is his legacy. But the truth is, everything belongs to you. I've hidden this will, where only you would think to look, in the place where I used to read you bedtime stories. The law firm of Mitchell and Associates on Elm Street has copies of everything. They've been paid to hold these documents until your 21st birthday. If they haven't contacted you by now, something has gone wrong. Trust no one else. You are the true Walsh heir. I read the letter 3 times, tears blurring my vision. My mother hadn't abandoned me. She'd protected me. The sound of car doors slamming made my heart stop. Voices in the driveway. Marcus was back early. I stuffed the documents into my jacket and ran for the kitchen door. But as I reached the hallway, I heard Marcus's voice, closer than expected. I'm telling you, James, something's wrong. Henderson was acting strange about those documents, like he was hiding something. My blood turned to ice. They were coming inside. What would they do if they caught me here? What would Marcus do if he knew the truth about the inheritance? I pressed myself against the kitchen wall, barely breathing as Marcus and James entered through the front door. Their voices carried through the house like thunder. Henderson's been our family lawyer for 30 years, Marcus was saying. He's never acted nervous around me before. Maybe he just feels bad about Emma, James replied. I mean, kicking her out was pretty harsh. She's not family. Marcus's voice cracked with something that sounded like desperation. She never was. Dad made that clear. I crept toward the back door, documents burning against my chest like stolen fire. Just a few more steps. But what if she contests the inheritance? James pressed. What if she gets a lawyer? Marcus laughed, but it sounded forced. With what money? Besides, all the paperwork is signed. Henderson made sure of that. My hand touched the doorknob. Unless, Marcus's voice dropped to a whisper. Unless Mom left something. She always treated Emma different, like she knew something we didn't. I froze. They were getting closer to the truth. Your mom's been dead for 2 years, Marcus. What could she have left? I don't know. But I'm going to search this house top to bottom, starting with Emma's old room. Terror shot through me like electricity. If they found evidence I'd been here, if they discovered what I'd taken. I slipped out the kitchen door and ran to my car, documents clutched against my chest. But I could hear Marcus's footsteps heading upstairs. In minutes, he'd discover the drawer. He'd know someone had been there. The next morning, I stood outside Mitchell and Associates on Elm Street. The law firm looked nothing like Henderson's polished office. This was a small, cluttered space above a coffee shop, with peeling paint and a flickering neon sign. But inside, everything changed. Emma Walsh, said Patricia Mitchell, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s. I've been waiting 4 years to meet you. 4 years. Your mother paid us a substantial retainer to hold her documents until your 21st birthday. When you never came, I assumed. I never knew. I whispered. My family told me she wasn't my real mother. Patricia's face darkened. They lied to you. Margaret Walsh was brilliant, wealthy, and terrified. She came to me when you were 16, convinced her husband would try to steal your inheritance. She pulled out a thick file. Your mother's family built the Walsh real estate empire 3 generations ago. When she married your father, he had nothing. Every property, every investment, every dollar of success came from her family's money. But the current business is built on your inheritance. Your father has been using your mother's assets as collateral for every deal. Technically, he's been stealing from you for 25 years. The room spun. Everything I'd believed about my family, my place in the world, was a lie. There's more, Patricia continued. Your mother suspected your father might try to have you declared illegitimate. She did extensive genetic testing, DNA results, medical records, birth certificates from 3 different hospitals. You are unquestionably Margaret Walsh's biological daughter. She handed me a photograph I'd never seen. My mother holding me as a newborn, both of us in matching hospital bracelets. On the back, in my mother's handwriting, Emma Sarah Walsh, born March 15, 1998. My greatest treasure. Your father has been committing inheritance fraud, Patricia said bluntly. Your brother has no legal claim to your mother's estate. The will they had Henderson draft is worthless. What would you do if your entire life was built on lies? If the people who raised you had stolen your birthright? What do I do now? I asked. Patricia smiled, and it wasn't kind. We destroy them, but they'll fight back. Marcus said he has influence, that he could ruin my business. With what money? Patricia interrupted. The accounts he thinks belong to him are frozen as of this morning. I've filed restraining orders against both your father and brother, preventing them from accessing any Walsh family assets pending DNA verification and fraud investigation. My phone buzzed. Marcus was calling. Patricia nodded. Answer it. Let's see how powerful he feels now. I accepted the call on speaker. Emma, Marcus's voice was frantic, desperate. What have you done? The bank accounts are frozen. The business accounts are locked. Dad's having a heart attack. I found Mom's will, I said quietly. The line went silent for a full 10 seconds. That's impossible. Henderson destroyed. Marcus stopped himself. Henderson destroyed what? Marcus. Emma, please. We can work this out. We can share everything. Family should stick together. Now he wanted to be family. But as I looked at Patricia's fierce smile and held my mother's photograph, I realized the real question wasn't whether I could forgive them. The question was whether they deserved mercy after 25 years of lies. The next morning, police cars surrounded the Walsh mansion. I sat in Patricia's BMW, watching officers escort my father and Marcus out in handcuffs while news crews captured every moment. Inheritance fraud, document forgery, and perjury, Patricia said, checking her phone. Henderson's already confessing everything to avoid jail time. My father looked broken, older than his 62 years. But Marcus fought the handcuffs, screaming about family loyalty and ungrateful daughters. Emma, he spotted me through the car window. You destroyed us. We raised you. We gave you everything. You gave me nothing. I whispered. 3 hours later, I stood in the police station's conference room, face to face with my father, for what I knew would be the last time. Emma, he said quietly, I never meant for it to go this far. You stole my inheritance for 25 years. You made me believe I was worthless. His shoulders sagged. Your mother, she was everything to me. But her money, her family name, it made me feel small, insignificant. When she died, I couldn't face losing it all. So you erased me instead. Marcus isn't even your son. The words exploded from me. I found the DNA tests Mom ordered. Marcus is your nephew, not your son. Your brother's child that you adopted after the car accident. Dad's face went white. How did you? Mom knew everything. She documented everything. Marcus has no more claim to the Walsh name than you do. The truth shattered him. He crumpled in his chair like paper in flames. The business, the house, the cars, it's all built on my mother's money. Money that belonged to me. Emma, please. Marcus doesn't know about his parentage. It would destroy him, like you destroyed me. But looking at my father's tears, I felt something unexpected, not satisfaction, not joy, just emptiness. The door opened and Marcus burst in, flanked by his lawyer. Emma, we need to talk, he said, trying to project his old confidence. This has gone too far, has it? Dad made mistakes, okay, but we're still family. We can fix this. Family? I stood up looking at both of them. Family doesn't lie for 25 years. Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't make a child feel worthless for their entire life. Marcus's lawyer whispered something in his ear. His face went pale. What do you want? Marcus asked quietly. For the first time in my life, I held all the power. Every property deed, every bank account, every asset they'd used to build their lives. It all belonged to me. I want justice, I said. We'll pay you back. Whatever Mom left you, we'll match it. We'll give you half of everything, half of what's already mine. Marcus fell silent. Here's what's going to happen, I continued. The fraud charges stand. You'll both face trial. The business will be sold to pay back taxes and debts. The mansion will be liquidated. Emma, no. But I held up my hand. I'm not vindictive. Dad, you'll keep the small cabin in Vermont. It was the only property you actually bought with your own money. You can live there quietly. Relief flickered in his eyes. And Marcus, I turned to my brother, watching his face transform from hope to horror. You'll have exactly what I had growing up. Nothing handed to you. No trust fund. No family business. You'll learn what it means to earn your own way. You can't do this. I'm a Walsh. No, I said quietly. You never were. But as the police led them away again, I felt no triumph, just hollow victory, and the weight of 25 years of stolen time. Is forgiveness always the right choice, or are some betrayals too deep to heal? 6 months later, I stood in the empty mansion, my footsteps echoing through rooms that had never truly been home. The auction had ended an hour ago. Strangers would soon fill these halls with new memories, new laughter, new love. The business sold for $12 million. After paying debts and taxes, I walked away with $8 million more money than I'd ever dreamed of having. But the victory felt hollow. Marcus had lasted 3 weeks at his construction job before quitting. He'd moved back in with our father at the Vermont cabin, 2 broken men sharing their bitterness like poison. They blamed me for everything. James had tried calling twice, offering reconciliation now that I was wealthy. I'd blocked his number. Mrs. Garcia found me in the kitchen, packing the last box of my mother's china. Mija, she said gently, you did the right thing. Did I? They're destroyed. Mrs. Garcia. Completely broken. They broke themselves with lies. You just revealed the truth. She handed me an envelope. This came for you today. Inside was a letter from Henderson, written from his prison cell. Emma, I know my apology means nothing now, but I need you to understand. Your father threatened to ruin me if I didn't help him. I was a coward. But your mother, she knew this day would come. The night before she died, she came to my office. She said, if anything happens to me, protect Emma. She's stronger than they think. She was right. You are remarkable, and I'm sorry I forgot that. Use your inheritance wisely. Make her proud. Tears blurred my vision. My mother had fought for me even from her deathbed. My phone rang. Patricia. Emma, there's something else. Something your mother set up that I just discovered. What do you mean? A scholarship fund. She established it when you were born. Funded with $2 million. It's been growing with interest for 25 years. The instructions were clear: activated only after you reclaimed your inheritance. A scholarship fund for what? For girls like you. Girls who've been overlooked, underestimated, or abandoned by their families. It's worth over $4 million now. I sank into a kitchen chair, overwhelmed. Even in death, my mother was still protecting people. There's more, Patricia continued. She left video messages, hours of them, stories about her childhood, her dreams for you, her hopes for your future. She wanted you to know her, really know her. That evening, I sat in my new apartment, modest, comfortable, mine, watching my mother's videos on Patricia's laptop. If you're watching this, my darling Emma, her voice filled the room, then you found the truth. I'm so proud of you for fighting. Never let anyone make you feel small again. You are a Walsh, and Walsh women don't surrender. She talked about building the business, about her fears for my future, about the strength she saw in me even as a toddler. Use the money wisely, she said in the final video. Help others who've been forgotten. Build something beautiful. And remember, family isn't just blood. Family is the people who choose to love you every single day. The next morning brought news that changed everything. Marcus had been arrested again, this time for embezzling money from a charity where he'd volunteered, trying to steal enough to start over somewhere else. Dad had called, sobbing, begging me to help bail Marcus out. I stared at the phone for an hour before making my decision. I met Marcus at the county jail. He looked smaller somehow, diminished by orange fabric and steel bars. His arrogance had crumbled into desperation. "Emma, please," he begged through the plexiglass. "I made a mistake. I was angry, scared. Help me, like you helped me when I begged for college tuition." That was different. "No, Marcus, it wasn't." I leaned forward, my voice steady. "I'm not bailing you out. I'm not paying for lawyers. I'm not saving you." His face crumpled. "We're family. You spent 25 years proving we weren't." But I wasn't finished. "However, I am doing something. The scholarship fund Mom created. I'm expanding it, tripling the endowment. It will help dozens of girls every year, poor girls whose families failed them, who need someone to believe in them." Marcus stared at me through the glass. "So you're just going to let me rot here? You're going to serve your sentence? Then you're going to learn what I learned. That worth comes from what you build, not what you inherit." I stood to leave. "Emma, wait." His voice cracked. "I'm sorry, for everything. For the lies, the cruelty, for making you feel worthless. You were always better than me, stronger, smarter." I was jealous. For 25 years I'd waited to hear those words. Now they felt too little, too late. "I know," I said quietly. 6 months later, I stood before the first recipients of the Margaret Walsh Foundation scholarships. 24 young women, each with a story of abandonment, neglect, or family betrayal. "You are not defined by the families who failed you," I told them. "You are defined by your strength, your dreams, and your refusal to give up." In the audience sat Mrs. Garcia, Patricia, and 3 other women who'd become my chosen family. Real family. The kind my mother had described in her videos. Marcus had been released 2 weeks earlier. He'd sent a single text: "Thank you for not giving up on me completely. I'm working construction in Colorado, trying to earn forgiveness," I'd replied. "Forgiveness isn't earned. It's chosen. I choose to forgive you, but that doesn't mean I'll forget." As I watched those young women accept their scholarships, their faces bright with possibility, I realized something profound. The best revenge isn't destruction. It's transformation. Taking the pain someone caused you and turning it into power that lifts others. My brother stole my inheritance, but he couldn't steal my strength. My father erased me from family photos, but he couldn't erase my worth. They tried to make me invisible, but I chose to shine brighter. Today, the Margaret Walsh Foundation has helped over 300 young women reclaim their futures. My mother's legacy lives on, not in bank accounts or properties, but in dreams fulfilled and lives transformed. As for Marcus, he sent a Christmas card last year. A photo of him with a woman and 2 small children. On the back he'd written, "Building something real this time. Thank you for showing me the difference." Sometimes the greatest victory is watching your enemies find redemption. And sometimes it's simply walking away and building something beautiful from the ashes they left behind. If this story of betrayal, truth, and transformation moved you, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear that they're stronger than they know. Subscribe for more incredible stories of justice served, and tell me in the comments, what would you have done in Emma's situation? Until next time, remember you are not defined by the families who fail you, but by the strength you choose to build.